Hey, good morning. It is time for our weekly update. Man, June is going by fast, which means the year has really gone by fast. And we're halfway through it just about. I wanted to share some updates from last week. And I also want to talk about we're going to talk about the vessel search. So, in the first episode of our weekly good Lord, our updates, I mentioned a few things that I would talk about in future updates, and one of those we're going to talk about this week is the vessel search. So let's get started. Let's talk about what happened last week. Before we launch our 6,000-mile, nautical mile, science expedition through America's waterways, I wanted to start where we are, and I'm a little bit landlocked here in Laramie, Wyoming. I'm far, far away from the ocean and the Gulf, but interestingly enough, the water here runs to the Gulf. So we're starting a series called Water is Place. It's a 7-episode series about why water matters and what it tells us about the places it flows through, and why a nonprofit founder, me, in landlocked Wyoming is about to spend 2 years on the water doing water quality testing and sharing stories about the water. So we'll be dropping new episodes of that this summer. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll get a notification when those happen. We did film an intro to the series last week at the Laramie River, and it is already up on YouTube and on our website. So please check that out and learn a little bit about water and maybe change the way you think about it. So what's been in motion this last week or so is something I wanted to talk about, but it kind of also alludes to something that happened earlier this year that I haven't shared on social as much as I should, and I will start. And the first, if you on our website, you'll see that we're partnered with NOAA's Phytoplankton Monitoring Office, the PMN office, which is located in Charleston, South Carolina. And the folks there do amazing work. They're the research they do, the water quality information that they share is what helps determine the HAB outbreaks and the notifications that folks get. It's really important because some of these HAB outbreaks are really super toxic and dangerous. So it's good for people to know when not to let their dog drink the water or to go swimming. So the work they do there in the PMN office is incredibly important. But they also have one of the oldest and largest citizen science projects for water quality testing, and some pretty good, strict training for the water quality testing and protocols that we'll be using those same protocols and training for our ambassador program and for ourselves as we go around the loop doing water quality testing. As a matter of fact, I have on the screen here, this is part of a presentation for the training. It's kind of at the end, and it helps you identify the different phytoplankton. And not all phytoplankton are bad. As a matter of fact, phytoplankton keep us alive. They have a very important... Hey, maybe we should talk about that in a future episode so we don't get off track on our updates. But what I wanted to share about PMN is they gave us a little mini grant earlier this year and sent us a very nice Vela Lab microscope with a tablet and the ability to actually plug it into a TV. So when we're doing our port-to-port events and working with kids and youth and talking about water quality and showing the water samples and helping them collect them, they'll get to see on a screen as a group. It'll be easier for them to see what's going on in the microscope, which is absolutely fantastic. So along with that, they also sent us some of the water quality testing kits that they provide to their citizen scientists, and we will be providing these as well to our ambassador program. And the ambassador program is something we're going to talk about in a future episode. We're going to release the ambassador program in July, so we'll be talking about that a little bit more, about what that is and how you can get involved. But so I just wanted to kind of walk through the kit So we have a bunch of pipettes here, slides and slide covers that are very instrumental to doing the water quality testing on the microscope. They send a bunch of bottles. These are, I think they're 125 milliliter. They're 4-ounce bottles for collecting the water samples. And then there's also a preservative. So if you find something interesting, you preserve the sample and you send it in so that they can identify. Because like this little guy here that's on the screen, one of these, there's two very similar. One of them is very harmful and one of them is not. And it's difficult to tell under a regular light microscope which one you're looking at. So they have to look at it under something that's more powerful and determine if there's a serious harmful algal bloom in an area so they can alert folks to it. They also send as part of the kit a refractometer, and this is used to measure salinity. You put the water sample in and you look through it in the light, and you can see a meter on there that tells you the salinity of it. That's a very nice piece of equipment. And then there's a waterproof thermometer. So what you do is while you're collecting your water sample, you leave this out in the air to get the air temperature, and then you tie it to a string, you lower it down into the water, and you get a water temperature reading. And those all go on the data sheet. There's a big data sheet that involves with that. And one of the most interesting parts of this test kit is this very expensive, very, very, very fine net that you run through the water. You learn how to do that in the training. You run it through the water in a specific way. This little thing at the end actually attaches to one of these water bottles. And so when you're running your water sample, when you're running this through the water, it's collecting the stuff in there. And then there's a way to kind of get the stuff that might be caught on the net and back into your water sample too. So all of that's provided in the training, but that's really important stuff. So I just wanted to share because that's an amazing gift from the PMN office to get us started. That gets us that gets us started on our wet lab. So one of the other things they did, which was kind of fun, Jen in the PMN office printed out a bunch of 3D phytoplankton. So the one on the screen I have right here, obviously this is way bigger than the critters are, but it allows the kids to kind of see. There's a bunch of these. There's the round ones and flat ones, and it allows the kids to see what these look like in a much easier way, which is phenomenal. So this is so much fun. And we had those at our Miami event, and the kids really enjoyed seeing that. So a fun use of the 3D printers. So I'm going to get a little bit more into what's going on here. I'm just getting over a cold, so you'll have to forgive me. And then just very recently, the NOAA PMN, the NOAA Marine Debris Program, which is another group that we are partnering with, got grant money to fund 20 marine debris mapping kits for our ambassador program. And what's fun is because these kits take a little bit of space, there's a measuring wheel and cones and stuff. They're going to be distributing them to us throughout their different marine debris mapping regions, which will be kind of fun. So we'll pick up our first disbursement of those in New Orleans when we start our expedition. So that's fantastic support from NOAA that we're getting. We made an interesting connection this past week. Again, this was a connection through Jen at the PMN office. to the Imagination Station in Toledo. And why Toledo, right? Because that's really far into our journey. We will be identifying and coordinating with partners all along the route to the 6,000 mile route. And Toledo is definitely one of those stops. And Toledo is already inundated with HABs. They're already having some major issues up there so early in the summer. It's a really, that place is hit really hard. So we've connected with, through Jen, Carl Nelson and Amanda Miller in the Imagination Station. Amanda is the water quality person. And the reason we connected with them so early is because we have an intern that actually lives in Toledo, and she works with us remotely. We see her occasionally. We do some events with her, and she will be on the boat with us on our 6,000 mile journey. And her name is Lexa, and Lexa is working with a kayak company up there and on water, and is seeing the effects of it, and reached out and said, hey, if I could get access to a microscope and the water quality kit up here, I would love to do an event and show kids, what's going on so they understand what's happening. So we connected with the Imagination Station, and that's probably going to move forward. I think she's planning for something for July, so she'll be working with Amanda on that. And then we'll be working with them further for the expedition, and we're really excited about that. But if you haven't checked out the Imagination Station in Toledo, it's definitely worth a visit. So our ambassador program and e-learning modules are being developed as we speak. There was a lot of progress made on that last week. We'll be getting the learning community up, but we're basically creating a marine and environmental science program that anybody can pay to join, and our ambassadors will get access to that for free. And the ambassadors get access to the NOAA PMN training and the NOAA Marine Debris Program training as well. So we applied for grants. I mentioned there's a couple more coming up in July that we'll get some applications in. So let's talk about the vessel search. Behind me is our website, actually on our in-kind contribution page. So if you go to the top, under Get Involved, in-kind support is the page we're on right now. And why this is important is because, to do this, to bring science to the loop, to bring science to kids on the loop, we need help. Like, I don't want to do this by myself. I'm going to be working with partners all along the way to create education events. And we're looking for contributions and folks who also want to get involved in this. So things that we need, some of the things that we need are professional services like marketing, web design help, legal stuff, video. It'd be cool to have kind of a documentary of this whole thing. Venues, event space, docs access, and classroom venues along the way. We're going to be working with a lot of education partners for that. Media, production, photography, videography, again, like for the documentary type stuff. Scientific equipment. These nets, that net that I showed you, that's $150. It's a very specialized piece of equipment. We need more of those. I'm anticipating bringing on 20 ambassadors throughout this process. So we'll need 20 of those kits. And NOAA is going to provide, the PMN office is going to try to provide a few more, but anything we can get to help the kids get involved in science and real science. And then any kind of expedition support, food, lodging, travel for youth or staff during the events is welcome and really super appreciated. So specifically, we have a go no-go date for getting a boat. Now we need a boat donated or loaned to us. We do not have the funding to purchase a boat of the size that we need for the loop. But I know there's a lot of boats out there, and I know there's a lot of folks who have boats that they're not using, or they finished the loop, or they planned to do the loop and bought the boat and then they're not going to do the loop. Or manufacturers who would love to get their boat out there and get all this visibility, ton of visibility, 6,000 miles and lots of YouTube and social visibility. Your logo right next to the NOAA logo. We have permission to put the NOAA logo on our boat, and really get involved in this science and bringing science to the loop and talking about the water quality, because it affects all of us. So here are the specs. The specs are on here. We talk a little bit about the research boat, and the preferred specs is a link with a pop-up. So the loop has some specifications that have to be met, mostly in air draft and draft. And the length that we're looking for, it says 35 to 65 foot. Obviously, the bigger the boat, the more people we can have on board. One of the things that we are offering, and we already have a couple of colleges involved in this, one of those is Ecker College in St. Pete, is we're going to be allowing students to pay to be on the boat. These are college students. They'll be on the boat for however many legs they wanna book, and the research that they do while they're on the boat qualifies them for the field research requirements for their degrees. So we have the opportunity to help fund the boat through that, and to provide a platform for students to do their research, which is fantastic. So if we have a little bit bigger boat with more sleeping berths, and a bigger galley and refrigerator, then we can accommodate, at least one student per leg, or a couple of students per leg, depending on the boat size. And that gives us an opportunity to help us fund the boat. It gives us an opportunity to provide access to field work for these students all along the loop. There's universities all over the place that can get involved in this. The max beam is 23 feet, and that is, I think, a lock thing, so that we can get through some of the locks we need to get through. The minimum draft the maximum draft rather, is 4 to 5 feet. There are some really shallow spots, and some people have had problems running aground, so we need to keep the draft really low on that, and that, that's the distance below the water line. For folks who knows boats, you know what that is. But for other folks, that's the distance that you have between the top of the water and the water line on the boat, and where the bottom of the boat, like the propellers and the other stuff on the boat, are. So some boats have a very deep draft, and so they can't go into super shallow waters. So the air draft is the height of the boat from the water line to the topmost thing on the boat, like antennas, radar, that kind of stuff. And that has to be 9'5", and that's a hard stop. Now some boats have things up top that you can kind of lower or take off temporarily, to lower that air draft, which is fantastic. That works too. But the problem is in order to actually do the loop, to come down, you come through Chicago, and there's a bridge that has a 19'6" height limit on it. So the air draft on the boat has to be 9'5". We'd love to have a fuel capacity of about 250 or more gallons. A deck layout that's suitable for labs, for gear, for science work, and for gathering around. We'll be, converting part of the dining area probably to for microscopes and lab work. It needs to have I don't have it on here. I have it as a wish list spec, is a swim step, but we're actually we're working with a junior scientist in the sea program, and we're going to have dive ability on the boat. So I'm going to have to move that up to this, because we do definitely need a swim deck, an ample swim deck to handle divers and dive equipment. So an AC generator would be fantastic. a large open galley that gives us room to prepare food for multiple people. Comms, obviously. Bow and stern thrusters on the larger boats are really super beneficial. Easy access to the engine room. We're going to have a couple of dogs on the boats. A couple of us have dogs. I've got Teal'c. Teal'c is in training to become a, where's Teal'c? He's laying on his chair. Teal'c is in training to become a service dog, to help me with some stuff. So he is, he will definitely be on the boat. So having molded stairs versus ladders would be really helpful. High gunnel and rails on the walkarounds, again, to help keep the dogs safe. And the students. Minimum 2 staterooms, 3 would allow us to do a whole lot more. Bunks in all of the rooms would be helpful. We don't need a fancy queen master berth. We could divide that into bunks too. Wish list specs are solar power, desalinization, electronic controls. Autopilot would be fantastic. Washer and dryer on board, and a dinghy with a lift. I think I'm going to bump that up to necessary as well, because we'll be doing a lot of anchorages and stuff as well, and we'll need access to the shore. So those are our boat specs. So that's a little bit about our boat. Now, to make our October 10 deadline, to make sure that we have a boat and we have the things that we need on the boat, we have time to get it ready by October 10th, we've set a go, no-go date of August 10th to give us 6 weeks or 8 weeks to do that preparation. So by August 10th, if we don't have a vessel or a vessel in the works, right, that we know is actually coming soon, we will pull the plug and postpone this expedition to the following year and keep working on getting a boat. But as of now, we have arrangements with the Pontchartrain Conservancy to launch from their lighthouse, and we have some things planned for Saturday, October 10th. So we are pushing forward and hoping that that comes through. Okay, so that's it. Those are our updates for this week. And we're at 22 minutes, I'm sorry. The 7 episodes, 1 river, 1 question filming is going to happen this week. It'll drop soon. So just keep an eye out for that. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.